This scratch name cannot be deleted. Here's how. In this project, every time I drag out a block, I must use it. I cannot remove it, and I have to implement it in a useful way. This got complicated really quick and was one of the hardest games I've ever created. If I can't find a way to make this work, everything might actually just be over. Okay, so what game shall we start creating? Okay, wait, I actually have an idea. What if we made just a simple space shooter game? That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty fun. So let's just make that then. That's actually cool. Wait, so what I'm thinking right now is maybe we could make this in like kind of like a doodle style. So the art is kind of doodly and messy. So it looks just kind of just pretty. I don't know. See how this kind of looks nice. And we can name this sprite the player, and we should get coding. But before we get coding, we actually need to talk because this is very difficult. So let's say that I actually bring out a letter of block. Okay, I actually bring it out. Then I can't like put it away. I can't delete it. I actually have to use that block. Then I can't just put it like somewhere random in the code. No, it actually has to do something useful. So I actually will have to find a way to find like a useful purpose of a letter of block. So the first block we need is obviously the 1 3 to 5 click block. I know I'm not going to be ever putting that back. And I guess I should just make like a movement script. So we should just get started on that. River, if T, up arrow press, duplicate that script, change it for down arrow, change Y by 10, change Y by -10. Okay, let's see. That's just some basic movement script. We should probably just make sure that a player is always starting in the same position. So I'll bring out a go-to block and I'll set the Y to 0. And also, since this is a space shooter, the background should be black because space is black. So I'll just do that really quick. While in all these space shooter games, there are always bullets that the player has to shoot. So I'm gonna create a new sprite and call it bullet. So maybe just something like this. Let's try that out. Nice. Just a cute little dot. When green flag clicked, go to back layer. Go to the back layer, and we also need to hide it. We could just bring out forever if T space press, create clone myself. Wait, 0.07 seconds, something like that. So what this does is just that every single time the player hits the space bar, then a clone is spawned. And also bring out when I start to clone, go to XY, go to Y position of player, and go to X position of player here. And then what we can do is just a repeat until, and then Y equals to 40 through X position equals to 40. We will change our X by 10, and then at the end, we will delete this clone. So now if I calculated this right, we should probably have a working bullet system. Yep, that works. But every single space shooter game always has to have enemies that are coming at you. So I think that's what we need to make next. So what I can do is I can just paint a new sprite, and we can just copy and paste this player sprite. And instead of red, we can make it like maybe green. So there we go. We can, as usual, bring up a when green flag clicked. Go to, just like the bullet sprite, we don't want to have just one enemy, we want to have multiple enemies. So we're going to use clones. So we can just do a script sort of like this. And when I started to clone, go to pick a random between 183 to -183. So as you can see, these clones are just starting to pile up, and that's a good thing. Now all we have to do is just make them move towards the player. Change X by -10. And what we can do is a repeat. No, I just moved the block out. Okay, I need to use this block. Oh my goodness. So I accidentally pulled out this block, and I did not mean to do that. I really meant to pull out this block, the repeat until block. Oh no, if I can't find a way to make this work, everything might actually just be over. Okay, I need to find a way to do this. Wait, I just found the solution. Wait, forever repeat 10. Yeah, so this just basically does nothing. It's just redundant code, but it is still being used in the project in a useful way. The code is still actually being used. So we satisfied that, and we can actually bring out what we wanted, the repeat until block. So repeat until, we bring out a or equals -242, X position touching fire, delete this clump. And we also had to bring out a hide and a shell. Now you're probably wondering what this code does. Well, it basically just is the main code for our enemies. And as you can see now, they are moving. Wait, we know. And it's working pretty good. And the player can actually kill the enemies. Wait, no, that's not how it's supposed to work, is it? Wait. No. Bro, did I actually just make another mistake? So the code that we wanted with these two blocks, but these two blocks we do not need, and oh my goodness, I just messed up. So what we can do instead is we can just move it to the player sprite, delete here. So we're still keeping the code, but we're moving it to the player sprite, and we're gonna see if we're catching the enemy. Okay, bring on if touching enemy. Ooh, we still have an orb walk. I'll just keep this in the code for now. And when we find the place for this, then we can worry about that later. So if touching enemy, broadcast game over. And for that, we're gonna have a game over spread, and we can set its X and Y to be 0, 0. We can just do 1 degree fuck clicked, go to front, hide, and then show. When I receive game over, show, and go to front layer. And I guess we could also bring out a stop all, because this will just stop the project. So now if we hit this, the game is over, and that is nice. Okay, so now I think we should probably add a feature that lets us kill these enemies, because our space shooter, when we shoot, the bullets just go through the enemies. And that is not a very good space shooter game. If touching bullet, then we delete this clone. And I think it's about time that we implement a score to our game. That would be very cool. So what we can do is we can just add a score. Says score to 0 in the beginning, and change the score by 1 if touching bullet. But we still have to worry about this orb law. What are we gonna do with the orb law? That is a huge problem right now. I should not have drag met out. Wait, I have a solution. WASD control. So what we can do is we can grab a key up and a key W. So it's just acting as more support for our game, which is a great new feature to have. But this game kind of just doesn't look dramatic enough. It just looks kind of boring. It's just stuff coming onto the screen as pretty basic. So what I'm thinking is that we could add stars to add more of a feeling of like speed and depth. So let's create a star spread. Paint star. That's all we need when read flag clicked. Forever if this isn't the worst mistake in the world, but I did not need this if condition. Wait 1 second. Create a clone myself. I'm just going to deal with the if then later. Create a clone myself. Wait 1 second. When I start as a clone, go to XY. What's it? The X is my 99999. Then we do a repeat until X equals negative 240, and we'll add a delete. This clone change X by mega 10. Okay, let's try that out. Okay, as we can see, there are some nice stars, but they seem to be moving at the same pace as the enemies, so it looks kind of just like a background that's moving, and it's not really convincing. So what we can do is we can just make our stars slower than the enemies, because they're farther behind. It looks more like these guys are just coming in and they're being faster. What we can do is we can just make another layer of stars. So we'll have one that's going super fast and in front of the player. And now we have a nice little parallax effect, and our game looks pretty cool. So this looks pretty nice. Actually, I would say that this wraps up the game, because the game is wrapped up. But in reality, there's still one more thing that we need to take care of. The is then block that I accidentally brought out. Okay, so I really wish I just never brought out this block. Wait. So in a lot of space shooter games like these, when you go to really far on one side, you can like go through the other side and you can just teleport. What if we add that using the if then? That could work very well. So over here, if then, bring out, or we bring out an equal, bring out another equal, we put them here, we put Y position, and we set our Y some crazier like 181 and negative 181. So there's basically just detecting if at any point in the game we are touching one of the edges. So I think we should use a variable. We set what Y position to our Y position. That's simple, right? And then we could do an if else equals what Y position 181. So this might just solve it. So according to these scripts, we probably can, yes, we can scroll. Yes, that's actually so cool. So let's say, oh, it was not about weird. Tinker at that. Wait, are we actually done? Man, this was such a crazy project. So let me just show you the final result. This was my first video on my channel, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe and hit the like button, as I'm going to be doing the face reveal when I hit a combined total of 100,000 views on my channel. Please subscribe. I worked really hard on this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And I will catch you in the next one, hopefully. a-lien out.